Welcome to New Light Living Podcast. I'm Ulrika Sullivan. I'm an intuitive spiritual life coach. Welcome to this episode. I personally feel that the topic today is so important that we need to go deep and dive deep on it. And it's the topic of embodying what you've learned to become whole. Because I see a trend in that we want to learn and learn and learn, and the next spiritual tool or the next method, the next accessory that we believe is important to have, the next ritual to learn and perform, the next book and the next course, and so it goes. And it's a very common pattern, if you will, to want to learn more and more. And that's great. There's nothing wrong with learning at all. I have a full bookshelf of books up here. And, it is a natural thing as a lifelong learner to want to learn more. However, that's often where it stops for many. The constant flow of input, if you will, can be overwhelming. And we often stop with that because when it comes to our transformation in a spiritual sense, there's so much information out there and it's all good. But when we keep our learning to learning, it stays in our head, it stays in our mind. And unless we apply what we have learned, even if it means that we have to take a step back, which can sometimes feel, oh, I'm not in the forefront of what all spiritual people do or say or know. Here is an opportunity for you today to contemplate. How much have I learned in the past year or two versus how much of what I've learned have I embodied? How much have I applied? How much have I let it takes it time to integrate into my day-to-day life? And I'm not here to make you, be put on the spot or anything, but it's something that has to do with how we become whole, how we feel balance in our lives. And if we are one-sided in a way, keep learning and taking in new information and not applying or embodying it, that's going to ultimately result in resistance, frustration, sometimes loneliness. And that's not what we want if we want to become whole and live a multidimensional life. So this episode is to inspire you to have the courage to step back and let what you've learned integrate into your day-to-day life. So why is this important? Why is it important to embody what you've learned? It is because with an experience comes an experience. With experience, when you embody something, you become something. You are also tapping into wisdom. And if you're not letting yourself to become what you've learned, it often stays up in your head, in your mind, as something that is good to do in the future. But here we're bringing in an opportunity to embody things now, not later in the future when we've learned more, but now, today, and actually become the person we want to become. So this is so important. So think about, bring in a vision of yourself, what this means for you. How do you tap into your wisdom already today? How do you embody who you are and who you want to be? Because with repetition, here's the thing too, is that if we continue to learn new things, new tools, new ways, new perspectives of what we could become, it does not allow for repetition or mastery. Because with repetition, when we go back, sit back, let it integrate, or go back to what we've learned, repeat that number of times daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, we become masters. And we cannot become masters by learning all new things all the time. Does that make sense? And it has to, with what I call inner transparency. It's a term that I came up with, and I think I came up with it. If I didn't, let me know. Because it is when our inner voice, our inner, our intuition, our inner voice, our inner knowing is in concert with our body consciousness. And that's the whole connection between becoming something versus keeping it as a thought in our mind. And when our body consciousness, which we use to create, to manifest, and when that's aligned with our inner voice and our what our intuition is telling us, we become clear. We gain more clarity. There is no doubt anymore about who we are and how we express ourselves in the world to our environment. And it's also this alignment between our inner expression and our outer expression. There is no resistance between the two. People see who you are and you show who you are. That's the inner outer perspective, that transparency again. Now, it's also embodying is also about being very clear on what our reality is today and who we want to become, and see the path to that, that there is a path to it. Because if we're not clear on our reality today and what that is, and if we are living in an illusion, for example, that's not as easy to embody our true self that way. Because if we live in an illusion, it's not us, if you will. So does that make sense? But when we're clear on our own reality, what is my reality today? And who do I want to be? That's when that inner transparency is found again between the inner outer expression. And when we find this embodiment, when we take ourselves into embodiment instead of staying with the listening and learning mode, if you will, there is no resistance. There is only beauty and flow. And if you're someone who has been taking in a lot of information, learn new things, not only spiritual things, but that's what we're talking about here. And if you're feeling that resistance or some frustration that you're not where you want to be, that means that you may have not taken that opportunity to sit back, contemplate, integrate, and become. So who do you want to be? That's my question to you. How can you express that? Bring it into form so that you can feel it and experience it, not just think about it. Because that is going to take you to a whole new level of your journey. And one thing I can give you a little tip here, because you might be, if you're watching or listening to this, like, where do I start? How do I start to embody things? I have all these books and I have all these courses and, I've been to so many retreats. It is to start taking action from yourself, from your heart and what works for you. It may be a feeling that you want to express, that you have been tapping into for a long time, but actually take it to the next step, to actually express it to someone within your family, in a group. It could be that you let your body express it. Maybe it is through dance, which I love, because it is not enough with a thought. You don't tap into your wisdom if you keep thinking about it. You have to become it. And I mentioned dance. I love embodiment through dance because it puts our mind a little bit to the side. We tap into our body consciousness when we dance, and we become one with the music. And whatever you want to become and bring in as an intention when you embody through dance, that is how you integrate. It's just one method. It's how you can integrate what you want to become. And so I highly recommend to put on your favorite tune that you have not danced to in a long, long time. Bring it on and turn up the volume and go for it, because that is how you can start embodying who you want to become. Now, if you want to get more inspiration, I recommend you to go to my previous episode, How to Trust Your Body's Wisdom. And I'll put a link to it in the show notes below here for you to get even more inspired, because that episode is about how to tap into that body wisdom. And that's what we want. We want to connect what we've learned with what we want to do with it. What do you want to do with everything that you've learned so far? And if you are really want to dive into this topic even further, I explore this in my book, Wisdom Beyond What You Know, How to Shift from Being Driven by the Mind to Living from the Heart and Intuition. In chapter 15 of my book, you will hear more about this shift between learning to embodying. So head over there, and you can also download a free chapter from my book on my website. So if you go to ulrikasullivan.com or wisdombeyondbook.com, you can download a free chapter there. Yeah. Thank you for being here. Thank you for those who are with me every week, listening to New Light Living podcast. I thank you for being here. And if you're new here, we have new listeners as well. So welcome. I will be back soon with another episode. Bye.